Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about juniors. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, if when you see a junior being more productive than a good senior engineer in your team, will they get promoted immediately? Nope. It depends on what you mean by better, but if you're talking about the times that I've seen, what usually happens is that if someone shows aptitude or a lot of talent, one or two things usually happens. Either they are ignored, or like just treated like a junior, because the world doesn't work based on merit alone. Because if it did, a lot of things would be different, in my opinion. But there's a combination of years of experience, prejudices, and talent that makes the difference. You're more likely to just be praised for being an amazing junior than being promoted as a junior, because there's this mental satisfaction that you have to give your manager before that happens. You could be literally like a gift from God in terms of coding as a junior level software developer, and the average manager is not going to call you a senior, because the way we measure seniority is not just skill, it's skill plus years of experience. And that might be very unfair, but it's the way of the world. And that's really where, like, I mean, if you're gonna break that mold, you're gonna have to be pretty gosh darn good, and you're gonna have to be in a company where there isn't, like, where the managers and so forth can evaluate that you're actually as good as you're, like, as you're saying, on average. Because I find it very, very, very unlikely that a junior level software developer is going to be better than a senior. Because, like, I mean, I would, if that is the case, then fire the senior, because they're going to cost you. I mean, if they cost you more than a junior, then why keep the, like, I mean, in this case you say it's a good senior engineer, so I can't, I mean, if they're good, like, it's you're basically putting me in a paradox sort of situation here. Like, I've never met a junior level software engineer that is better than a good senior. That doesn't make any sense to me, because they would have to be some type of prodigy developer who has, like, I don't know, like an absurd amount of intelligence and so forth. And I mean, I have met people who are that intelligent, like, that are, like, so good at what they do that it's like companies have bent over backwards to have them in the company. And I mean, it does happen, but it's really unlikely. It's very rare. I mean, the odds of you doing that is, like, I've met exactly one person who could make a claim for that, and he wasn't a junior as far as I know. When the specific company, it's a very, very famous streaming company, music streaming company. You've probably heard of it. As far as I remember, yeah, he actually lives in my region. If I don't remember correctly, the rumor, I'm not 100% sure it's even true, was that they put up the office out here because he basically lived here and he wanted to continue living here. And he provided them with one of their core pieces of technology for their platform, because he was that good. And I mean, if you're so good, quote unquote, that someone will, like, bend over backwards for you to that degree, it's yeah, then I'm not saying that you're going to get promoted, but for sure you're going to see some, bias towards you. But for the average mortal, that's not the way it works. As I said, it's more a question of, if you're really, really good as a junior software developer, you're most likely just going to be patted on the shoulder for being really, really good, and maybe you'll get promoted faster, or people will show you appreciation and so forth. Maybe not, but it's not like you're gonna start running the team all of a sudden. But that's also something that the really good managers, what they usually do is they don't just look at which makes the whole good terminology a little bit problematic here, because the way that it's like the good managers will do it is that they will look at your skills as a coder, if they can evaluate that and sort of get the general feedback about you, and if it's good and everybody says that you're really good, etc., etc., and you also show the aptitude for leadership or taking additional responsibilities, you might become the team lead earlier than what. Like you might, I mean, I've been in teams, guys, where a guy who had 4 years of experience was team lead, whereas the people who had 20 years of experience, they weren't, or 15 years or whatever they had, like they had a lot of years of experience, they weren't team leads because he was the most appropriate person for the job. So you can absolutely get promoted faster and so forth, but it really comes down to does the manager feel like you can handle increased responsibilities, etc., etc. But I've never seen someone code so well that they were promoted, and I think that has more to do with, as I've said before, guys, the average manager, like the people who you're working with, they don't know how good you are at the coding. That's quote unquote your job, and tragically it is the case that even if you are the best at the coding, unless I've never seen it, but in theory it might be possible that you code so well that people realize that you are so good at this thing that you should be earning more than that senior. But usually that's not the case. Usually the seniors are being paid based on, like, they don't have to be better at coding than you. It's just that they have more experience. It's unfortunate, but that is the case, and that comes from the fact that we can't, one part is that it's not that common that this happens, but the other part is that we can't usually evaluate in the industry how good someone is at coding versus somebody else. So what I want you to take away from this is that no, it's not likely that a junior software developer is going to get promoted just because they're better than a quote-unquote good senior level software developer. They might get a lot of praise, and they might get promoted to like a team lead or something like that to take on extra responsibilities, but you can more or less forget, I think on average, that you're going to out earn or something like that a good senior software developer. But then you are talking about promotions specifically, so it is feasible for a junior to become a tech lead or something like that fairly early on, even though there's a senior in the team or like something else, because that role, as I've said to you guys before, is not about seniority per se. It's about aptitude and willingness and so forth. In many cases, a team can be led by a junior, or rather, an experienced junior. The right person can lead be the tech lead or like the team lead for a team, because the work of a tech lead or someone like that, it's actually not that difficult, depending on the team. Now, in some teams it's very difficult, but in some teams it's actually, you're basically just responsible for making sure that there is a meeting invite to the stand-up and things like that, or it's really not as complicated as many might think. Have a great day.